It turns out not a lot of people watched. Now, it's still a big number comparatively to other shows, 18.1 million. But to give you some kind of reference, that in the year 2000, almost 50 million people watched. In the 80s and 90s, it was in the 60 millions. It was competing with the Super Bowl. And up until as recently as 2017, 18, even maybe 19, they were in the 30s. They were well into the 30 millions. And then, of course, COVID happens. They have their lowest Oscars ever. It's 10 million. Then it pops up to the worst political year I've seen in living memory was 2022, was 16 million. And it crept up from COVID until this time. This is the first time it's actually fallen back. Oscars hit 18.1 million viewers, down 7% from last year. Now they're going to come out with a lot of excuses because this is the first year they streamed it on Hulu. And Hulu it had problems. People couldn't log in. And I think it crashed after Best Director, which is great. Disney paid $72 billion to get Fox and Hulu. And then a few more billion to pry it away from Comcast. Great job. It's almost as good as that Jake Paul Tyson fight. You know, the streaming was really smooth for that. Just under 18.1 million people turned into ABC's telecast. That's the American Broadcasting Corporation. Limeys. Telecast of the 97th Academy Awards on Sunday, making a 7% decrease from last year. That total, which comes from a combination of Nielsen measurements of linear viewers on ABC plus live stream, so that's combining the live stream, as in MauLer, on Hulu, indicates the ceremony's first viewership drop in 4 years. In 2021, the first ceremony after the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic and the government's horrible response to it, saw an all-time low of 10.4 million viewers. But Hollywood's biggest night saw consecutive growth for 3 years after that, hitting 16.6 million viewers in 2022 and 18.8 million in 2023 and 19.5 million last year. Still, guys, here comes the still. 18.1 million viewers was enough to make the Oscars the most watched and primetime entertainment, meaning not sports or not news, telecast of the 2024-2025 TV season thus far. Has anything come out of note? Or I think things have just come out. It also had the highest rating among adults age 18 to 49 this season with a 3.92, up 3% from last year. And when isolated to adults 18 to 34, it was the highest rated Oscars in 5 years with 3.17, while still being the third lowest rated Oscars in history. It should also be noted that Hulu's live stream was interrupted by technical difficulties less than half an hour into the ceremony. Upwards of 34,000 users reported problems accessing the streamer and down detector at 5:48 p.m. Almost 2 hours in, the X account for Hulu support posted the service had been restored for affected users, but issues were reported again towards the end of the ceremony, just before the announcement of Best Picture. Because the telecast was scheduled to conclude at 7:32 p.m., but ran long, some users lost access to the live stream early. It can be assumed that the overall viewership total would have been at least slightly higher, if not for these technical errors. At the same time, this is the first year that Disney has simulcast the Oscars on Hulu, so streaming numbers did not factor into previous year's totals, meaning it's a little lower for that linear stuff. What they failed to mention in this article, you can take it down, is it's the third lowest in Oscars history. And it shouldn't be surprising. So, MauLer, how many Best Picture nominees did you see? Do I need to get the list up? You probably don't even know.
Hard at work on this insane project of mine to the point where I was like, you know what? I think I'm just going to wait until it all settles and then find out from broadly all of you which one I should be, or which ones I should be checking out. I don't know. I'm trying to live my own perspective that I don't give a fuck about the Oscars. I truly don't. And so therefore, whoever they pick as like which is funny, by the way, considering this year, all I have seen is people complaining about who's getting awards absolutely shouldn't be getting the awards. This includes the films and the actors, you know? So down to writers, whatever have you. So from what I have heard, Anora is the film I should see, and The Substance, which I have seen, and already I feel like we're almost out in terms of films that are must-sees versus films that you should see if you want the context of the Oscars, which, yeah, I've just not had the time, and I haven't found myself caring that much, so there we are. But Anora, yeah, I'm going to check that out at some point, for sure.
Anora's okay. I mean, you'll like it. It's like, it's a well-made movie. It is. In any other, I mean, it won 5 Oscars, and in any other year, maybe it gets nominated. And you can't discount the effect that Amelia Perez had on it, because that was going to win everything up until those tweets.
See, I'm avoiding watching that until it's recorded that I'm watching it, because I with a bunch of people and maybe alcohol. Sounds like fun.
As a sober guy, I might recommend that because it's tough. It's tough, but it's funny. It's funny that it got 13 nominated. It did win some, surprisingly enough, but it was gonna effing sweep, dude, until those tweets came out. And remember, those tweets came out before the voting. It was after the nomination voting, but before the actual voting. And then we find out later that a bunch of people who voted, not a bunch, but it's anecdotal, but a few people through, behind anonymity, stated to the Hollywood Reporter or Variety, one of the two, that they hadn't even watched all the best pictures. They didn't watch Dune.
Yeah, I heard about, wasn't it like, I can't remember what their reasoning was. They found the first one boring, so they didn't care or something about Dune. And then they didn't, wasn't there some other really wacky reasoning? Like Ray Fiennes already has an Oscar, so there's no point in him winning when he doesn't.
Because it's not like people haven't won multiple Oscars before.
He doesn't have one though. It's not even.
And he never even won.
This is what I mean. Like, I was already completely zoned out on the Oscars as an operation, but seeing people summarize, it's like fucking hell. There's like less legitimacy for the Oscars than there would be for like if I made the Fappies and it was just a bunch of awards for based on the votes of a cast that we just cobbled together randomly. I actually kind of hate the Oscars a little bit. Because I just don't think it adds anything to film. I think it just takes it away.
I think it's a model. It's a tired model from the 20th century that's outlived its usefulness. The pomp and circumstance worked back then. It doesn't work now, thanks to social media. Now that we've gotten to know the celebrity, and even when they're quiet, like they they clearly got a memo and bent the knee. Like there was 3 comments. But that's completely tame compared to the 22 show. The 21 and 22 shows were super political. But this one wasn't. They were clearly like, okay, we fucked up. We're just going to go back to being a normal show. And it still doesn't get watched by anybody because it really helps to have movies. I mean, like independent films. And there used to be the Oscar darling, right? But Harvey, I don't want to get in the full history, but Harvey Weinstein through fucking payola, let's just call it, kind of ruined it with this Miramax stuff, and we started getting Shakespeare in Love winning Best Picture when it shouldn't have, and these really crappy independent movies that are completely overrated for the most part. There might be 1 or 2 exceptions that started winning, and that's when it started turning into. That's why it was so, the days of Lord of the Rings winning, and they're still are gone, and there's still genre bias to this day. Not that there was a lot this year. Like this year, they had nothing to choose from. The best movie, I mean, I've seen this year, but like Better Man was better than most of the Best Picture nominees. And it's the biggest flop of the year. But it's a better movie. So, how you doing? How many Best Picture nominees did you see?
What were the Best Pictures?
You saw Dune?
I saw Dune.
Oh, I saw that one too, yeah.
I saw The Substance, if that was nominated as well.
Yep.
So I saw Dune 2 and I saw The Substance.
Okay.
Which I loved, by the way.
Look at us.
I loved it. I actually enjoyed The Substance more than Dune 2. Can I just say that? Fucking Oscars is like apathy central, man.
That's pretty much.
Who gives a fuck? You've got 2 fucking skeletons dancing or singing with each other on the stage. You got some woman who comes up and goes, "Hey, guess what? Let's give a shout out to fucking sex workers." Because, nothing says totally give up on your dreams, girls, and just fucking spread your legs on OnlyFans like a fucking Oscar twat. And then what else do you have? Nobody fucking gives a shit. Nobody knows what the fucking best films were. Nobody fucking cares anymore. Everyone's on fucking social media who came before to this fucking ceremony waffling on about why they're a fucking retard, why they are queers for Palestine or this or that. You can't say these words. You can't say those words. It's so fucking sanitized and censored and fake and phony. It's perfect Hollywood. Nobody fucking cares about the Oscars.
No. And apparently, as MauLer stated, some of the voters mistakenly believe that Ralph Fiennes won before.
Actually, on that note, just real quick, I like Conan O'Brien's joke where he said, if Ray Fiennes loses this nomination after another 3, we finally get to call him Ralph.
I'm going to call him Ralph. It's Ralph. It's Ralph. And yes, a couple of voters admitted to just not even watching Dune. They were like, I didn't want to see it. I wasn't into the first one. I didn't want to see it.
It's such a basic thing of like, okay, so the Oscars, bunch of people vote, a bunch of nominees to decide who gets the awards. Cool. So step 1, they have to watch the movies, right? You're like, no. Okay. I feel like there's a flaw in your system.
Informed voters, clearly.
Yeah, but that's just it. If they are casting a vote, did you see them all? No. How can you cast a vote if you haven't seen them all?
Because I can feel it.
Yeah, we can just tell. The fact of the matter is, like, how that happens all the fucking time. You know it happens. You know most of the voters.
They're not supposed to tell us, though, guys.
I know. But thank you for your honesty. Okay, so we had, I don't know about if this is too soon or not. Did you see the firefighters roast Joker too?
No.
Well, our hearts go out to all of those who have lost their homes. And I'm talking about the producers of Joker 2.
I like the idea that everyone's not sure how to react to that.
Yeah, it's like, do we just open a mouth but don't quite commit?
Well, our hearts...
Too soon?
Wow. At least they're firefighters. They can.
Yeah, what are you going to give them shit? You guys didn't even give them any damn water to fight your damn fires. You should just be quiet and let them take it. Like, the Oscars are so beyond being relevant. It's kind of a joke. You're right. It was survive until 25, and now it's going to be, we'll see if they survive for a couple more years, because it's indicative of what's been going on in Hollywood. People are just sick of it. They're tired of people in $100,000, well, that's probably low, $2 million dresses and $500,000 necklaces that could buy a house in Palisades once it's rebuilt, telling you how to live. And even just the thought of it, people are done. And it's a long show. And when you're putting up stuff like Anora and A Complete Unknown. So I watched a bunch of them. Not everyone, but like nothing stood out as like worthy of a Best Picture nominee outside of maybe I get why Wicked was, and Dune 2 and Substance, and everything else, including Anora, I just thought was like in any other year, I don't think this would even get us.
Okay, can I ask a question?
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. You said I can understand why Wicked got nominated. Can you legitimately just explain to me why you understand? Yeah.
Why it got nominated by an Academy in Los Angeles? I think it's pretty self-explanatory, dude. Have you seen Wicked?
Oh God, no. I'm straight.
It's really good. Okay.
Okay.
That doesn't give you enough information.
No, that just supported my argument.
Understanding does not mean I support the decision. Okay?
No. I'm not trying to play or trap you into anything. I'm just what I'm trying to get at is, if it's absolutely perfectly okay for Wicked to get nominated because it's musical theater type of thing which the Hollywood lovies go to, and they're all in for. Then why didn't Dark Knight get nominated back in 2008 or whenever? stuff like it's complete genre bias. It's a joke. The Oscars are a joke themselves because their genre bias just constantly shines through, and movies that should get the attention it deserves might not be the genre that they particularly prefer. If they can't even watch the films, the bias against genre. This is a joke of a system. So the whole fucking system behind the Oscars in itself is just so loaded. So why even bother?
Yes, and like that was my attitude a long time ago. When remember they changed the Best Picture the amount of because it used to be 5 or 6, and they changed it to 10 because of Dark Knight. Because Dark Knight wasn't nominated, and it was fucking ridiculous. And we could go back. There's actually an article on that we can check out in a little bit, like the times they got it wrong. Genre drives the industry right now, and it still doesn't have a lot of respect. That should tell you that once Hollywood can get off this superhero train, believe me, they will. Even Rob Liefeld said it in his podcast, and I've heard this from people like Bruce Campbell too. Hollywood hates superhero films. They hate how expensive it is. They can't stand them, and they can't wait to be done with them. But they're stuck with them, and it shows in how they make them. They still make them like they're embarrassed by them. They hate them. Great example, Lanterns. Why not call it Green Lanterns? Well, because we don't want to make it too superhero. That's silly. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, but comedy, I know certainly the superhero, but comedy also suffers from this same thing as well. Superheroes is kind of like the big thing right now, and yes, there isn't any comedy right now because comedy predominantly operates off the ability to be offended, and you can't offend anyone anymore. So we're in a bit of a predicament with comedy, so it becomes sanitized crap. It's the point where there are movies which should easily get more push than they do, or certainly get more attention that they do in regards to nominations that just go absolutely nowhere.
Well, I mean, creatively they can't go anywhere because they put a bunch of rules on themselves, right? So it was making the rounds a couple of days ago on Twitter, like it was new, like it was breaking news. Revealed! Oscar rules require diversity quotas for Best Picture nominees. Gotcha. I believe all of us talked about this when it actually happened 2.5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So this
is they're not watching the movies. How are they going to know?
Yeah, exactly. I just wanted to show this real quick. We're not going to go over all the requirements, but to give you an idea, at least 30% of all actors not submitted for Oscar consideration are from at least 2 underrepresented groups, which may include women, because women became an underrepresented group, the majority of the population on planet Earth who outlive men quite a bit. Racial or ethnic group, LGBTQ+, people with cognitive or physical disabilities, or who are deaf or hard of hearing. What?
Okay.
So these are
Sorry,
what was that?
Come again.
I couldn't hear you. The main storyline, theme, or narrative of the film is centered on an underrepresented group. So anytime you see in a television, this goes for TV too, in a movie, you see some out of nowhere, like just woke scene that feels like it's obligatory. It is. They even mention like previously incarcerated is an underrepresented group. So, hey guys,
What?
I'm part of an underrepresented group in these rules. Yes. Lead or significant supporting actors from underrepresented racial or ethnic groups. At least one of the lead actors or significant supporting actors submitted for the Oscar consideration is from an underrepresented racial or ethnic group. And
why?
Dude, and it says this over and over again in the rules. Well, because they're racist, that's why. This may include African American, Black, African, and or Caribbean descent, East Asian, including Chinese, Japanese, Korean, and Mongolian.
Japanese, Chinese, what are these?
Chinese.
Is that what?
That's OF models.
Hispanic or Latina /E/O/X. What the hell?
AIOU. It's vowels.
Indigenous peoples, including Native American and Alaska Native, Middle Eastern or North African, Pacific Islander, South Asian, including Bangladeshi, Bhutanese.
Shouldn't this list be way longer if we're including all of everybody from everywhere?
No, that's it.
You know, all you have to say is non-white, and it just covered everything.
That's what I said in my video. You would have saved a ton of space on these rules if you go 30% less white on everything. And now that the Oscars haven't changed it, but Hollywood's changing these rules and rolling back the corporations because they might be actually against the law, and they might get sued. And that would be really funny.
Nerdrotic.com. Please subscribe.